Take a moment to think back to the best performance you've ever had. Maybe you were playing for a sold-out crowd, jamming with a group of incredible players, or maybe you were just sitting in your room. Somehow, from the moment you started playing, everything just clicked. You weren't worrying about missing notes or how you looked, and everything worked together to become almost a supernatural experience. Unfortunately, for most of us, these moments are few and far between. I know from personal experience how it feels to spend hours and hours working on a piece of music only to have it fall apart or feel unnatural once I try to perform it or play it in a lesson. The problem is that most of us spend so much time practicing techniques and theory that we forget to work on ourselves and how we're approaching music in the first place. If this is you, don't worry. You're not the only person to feel this way. In fact, there are loads of books that deal with this very issue. I've put together a list of some of the 5 books that have made me a better musician without teaching me a single note. And in this video, we're going to talk about each one of them and kind of what they're good for. If you want, the links to each of these books, or the Amazon links to each of these books, is going to be down in the description, so you can pick them up from Amazon without needing to look around. Up first is a book called The Music Lesson. This book was written by the great bassist Victor Wooten. It's completely different from any other book that I've ever read. He uses a narrative to teach the fundamentals of music. In the story, the author is sitting around when a mysterious man just randomly shows up at his house and takes him through all different kinds of adventures to teach him about what music really is. Wooten argues that there are 10 elements that are essentially the building blocks of music. Unfortunately, most musicians only really focus on one of those elements, the notes. Victor Wooten argues that even if you play all the right notes, you could still only really have 1/10 of the song done. He also uses this book to argue for a teaching and learning method that resembles the way children naturally learn to talk. It's a clever and fun way to teach a holistic view of music, and it's a great read for any musician, but it's particularly useful for anyone that teaches. I chose this book to go first because it kind of sets a good foundation for all of the other books that'll come up, by giving us a larger view of what music is, so that as we kind of continue down to try to approach it, we have that good foundation. Up next on the list is the book Effortless Mastery by Ken Werner. As you can see, this book has been kind of taken through the ringer quite a few times, and is literally, the cover is being held together by tape. I've read through this book over and over and over, and it really is my favorite book of all time. It's the kind of book that if I was stuck on an island and only got to choose one, I'd probably take this. I first read this book when I was studying music at East Tennessee State, and I was having a lot of trouble with stage fright and anxiety. Music wasn't something I enjoyed anymore, and I'm sure I made all of my friends, family, and bandmates miserable when I hung out with them. It came to a breaking point when I was playing in a contest, I missed a note, and totally froze. I knew that something had to change, and I had read some articles that Ken Werner had written for Downbeat magazine, and they really spoke to me. After a little research, I found out about this book and bought it right away. The basic idea of the book is that a lot of musicians practice, perform, and teach based on fear. We're all afraid of missing notes, looking ridiculous, or not becoming successful. This book helps the reader to identify and change those problems. I'm not going to say that I'm a master musician or even a master with the techniques in this book, but I will say that I never thought I could be as comfortable performing as I am now, and I'm truly thankful to Ken Werner for that. The third book on my list is called The Inner Game of Music. In my opinion, this book would work really well as a follow-up to Effortless Mastery. It was written by the bassist Barry Green after he read the book Inner Game of Tennis by W. Timothy Gallwey. He was so inspired by Gallwey's book that he took the same concepts and applied them directly to music. Like Effortless Mastery, the book aims to help musicians be able to perform more naturally and develop a deeper connection to the music they're playing. I think that Effortless Mastery does a little bit better identifying the problems and helping musicians address those issues conceptually, and The Inner Game of Music does a good job picking up where Effortless Mastery left off by offering more practical exercises. The fourth book on my list is called Musician's Yoga by Olson. I was a little skeptical about this book at first, but a friend recommended it to me because I was having a lot of pain in my forearms from over-practicing, a lack of warm-ups, and a lack of stretching. Unfortunately, a lot of musicians don't consider the physical toll poor practice habits can have on your body and your performances. It's not uncommon for musicians to face issues with carpal tunnel, tendinitis, tinnitus, or more. After all, whether you're singing or strumming a guitar, it's still a physical action to make music. This book helped me develop a better stretching routine and posture, which then helped my playing feel and sound more natural. It also helped me focus on my breathing, which is a great technique if you deal with stage fright. The last book on my list is called The Growth Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. This book isn't directly written for musicians, but it still has a lot of information that's very relevant to us. It basically calls into question the idea that talent is everything. In this book, the author argues that the average person has one of two mindsets. the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. The fixed mindset says that we are born with certain skills and traits that we can't change. If you've ever heard somebody say that they have no rhythm, they're basically working from a fixed mindset. The growth mindset, on the other hand, says that with work and perseverance, we can develop the traits and skills that we really want. It's basically a scientific approach to the idea that practice makes perfect. Honestly, when I read this book, I thought that I had the growth mindset until I finished the first couple chapters, when I realized that really wasn't the case on a deeper level. To make matters worse, I'm pretty sure that I was accidentally instilling fixed mindset traits into many of my students. After reading this book, I was able to put its techniques into my daily practice as well as adjust the way that I work with the people I teach. I'm happy to say that there's been a noticeable difference in the motivation and ability of both me and my students. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video, it really means a lot. Hopefully I gave you a good idea of the next book or 5 to read. But if you did enjoy the video, please subscribe to my page. There's new videos coming out each week. You can also support me on Patreon or check out my website, www.rwesleycarr.com. Before you go though, I'd love to hear in the comments some of the best music books that you've ever read. But until then, I look forward to the next video and happy picking.